Well, good evening, ladies. Firstly, I have to say congratulations to you all because I don't know about you, but before I make a decision, the first thing I try to do is find a room. I want to find a room. I want to know who's in that room and I want to know if I fit into that room. You guys have actually made a life changing decision today. You might not know that because I was here. This is my third time here. And on my third occasion, I'm here with a mic talking to you guys. So anything can happen. And I promise you, I've not been told to say that. But Global Woman, honestly, the platform itself, Mirella, what the ladies are doing, it is life-changing. So please, if you need to make a decision about them, do it today or do it tomorrow. But who am I? So my name is Janet Ifidon. And I started my property journey specialising in what I call OPP, other people's property. Now, I'm going to explain what that is because a lot of people, and I love people's stories when I hear that, you know, you've worked hard, you've made your money, you started property and you're on your third, fourth property, whatever it may be. I love that story. You absolutely deserve it. But my message is always to the people that have nothing. The people that I resonate with, or from my standpoint, when I started, I had absolutely nothing. I was at that crossroad of my life where essentially I had to make a decision. I don't know how many of you have been there, where you just have to make it, like whatever it is that you were doing was not working and you had to make a decision. And that's where I was, right? So it started with my health. I was a high flyer. I trained as a barrister. First one in the office, last one to come out the office. I was doing all of that rigmaroling. I loved it. I loved the lifestyle. But my body did not. My health did not. So what happened was, and even when I say the story now, it's absolutely crazy. So a lot of people, property is your fallback plan, which it should be. But for me, property became my full-on plan. So I was going to work one day, I was fine, went to work, did what I did. On my way home, I was on the bus. The bus would normally take me like 40, 45 minutes, not exactly near my door, but close to my doorstep. So on this fateful day, I was fine, got on the bus, finished work, sat down, reading a book or whatever it was. And I just felt this sort of weird twinge in my body. And I couldn't understand it. And I tried to move my legs, couldn't. Tried to move my arms, I couldn't. I had no idea what the hell was going on. And I was sitting next to a lady, and the lady was sort of looking at me like, what is she on crack? What's going on? But I kid you not, that day my entire body shut down. And I had to be carried off the bus. I don't want to take too long. I had some sort of attack, had some sort of scientific name, I can't remember what it was, but essentially I was so stressed out that my body just shut down. I was carried off the bus by strangers, which I was really grateful for. People are really kind, they're lovely. But when you're in that kind of position, you just can't say to somebody, I know you're helping me out, but can you take your hand off my bum? Because they were being nice. They were trying to get me to my house. But when you're in that sort of helpless situation, you just take whatever you're given. So, of course, couldn't go to work the next day. Didn't know what the hell was going on with me. Throughout the night, couldn't sleep. I was in pain, all of that. Cut a long story short, I was diagnosed with lupus. And lupus is an interesting thing. I'm not going to go into that. But this is what happened. I couldn't go back to work. I didn't want to go back to work. I needed to make a change. Now, I was semi-lucky because my mum, she had one property. She was what we call a small-time landlord, I guess. So property was always the silent thing in the background. She would ask me to go and speak to the tenants, go and, write contracts, tenancy agreements, whatever. I'll do it reluctantly because I'm like, oh, God, here we go. Because she's your mum. She's not going to pay you. She just tells you to go and do it, and you have to do it, right? So it was always there in the background. But as I was sitting there, one day I was in the hospital. They were doing biopsies on me to try and figure out what was going on. I said to myself, listen, Janet, you can't go back to what you were doing because you're literally going to kill yourself. So you need to do something else. How did I get involved with other people's property? Well, because my mum had one property, there were people that I knew that had properties, and they would like moan to each other, oh, you know, this tenant's not doing this and blah, 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 that kind of stuff. But I started listening to more information about monetizing other people's properties. So on Instagram, you get these people that'll tell you, oh, you know, X, Y, and Z, and you can do this, you can do that. I said, okay, fine, no problem. The first thing I'm going to do is get myself educated. And that's not because I come from an educational background. You know, I'd already spent all my money on my education. I had nothing left, not because of that, but because that should be the process. Exactly what you're doing here today. You're getting yourself educated so that you know what you are doing. So I decided that I needed to know more about this whole monetization of other people's property, what that entails and all that kind of stuff. So I got myself a wonderful mentor. And this lady pretty much just changed my life. She taught me everything that she knew. But then the thing is, when someone teaches you something, you then need to add your own into it, right? So it's like someone taking you, you're walking to that spot and they're holding your hand to that spot. But you know you need to get to the back of the room, right? So you then need to use whatever you've got within yourself to get to the back of a room. They can only hold your hand so much. So I did everything that I needed to do to know about this particular strategy. So what happened to me? I'm not going to go through my whole life story, but in between being diagnosed with lupus, you know, I was just starting my family, had a miscarriage, went to the hospital one day with a child in my tummy. 3 days later, I had no child in my tummy. I was at the depths of depression, right? So just coupling that with all these things that I'm learning here, how I'm going to get out of my situation. Long story short, I decided, okay, I'm going to do this. I got my training, got educated, decided I was going to do this. Within 3 months, with a baby, by the way, I did have children at the end of it. Just to let you know, I've got 2 kids now, it was all fine. But with a baby in tow, I had a 3-month-old baby when I started my business. And I'll go to these viewings, I was looking for opportunities. And the first thing I'll say to the landlord is, the house is not for me and my baby, I've already got a home, it's fine. But my name is Janet, I'm such and such, I'm from such and such company, and this is what I do. So I would speak to them about resolving the problem that they have, and that problem is not knowing what to do with their property. So the way that we talk about people not knowing what to do with their money, OPM, other people's money, and some people will take other people's money, put it in a venture and all that kind of stuff. OPP is exactly the same thing. I can't go through, obviously, the entire strategy tonight. My time is already up, but this is what I want to say to you. If you are looking for where to start, like I said, a lot of people, you are lucky, you've got your property already, that's great. But if you literally don't know where to start, this for me is the best entry strategy. Because what you are doing is you're learning everything that you need to learn as an investor when you get to that point, but you're doing it with somebody else's property. But you have to get yourself educated. That is fundamental.